Welcome back to OpenLine, taking your questions, talking all about the Affordable Care Act. Enrollment is open right now, and so what questions do you have about that? It will be open all the way until December 15th. This is your chance to call in and get whatever question you have answered about the Affordable Care Act. Happy to have with us Tony Garr, Certified Application Counselor, and Jackie Shrago, also Certified Application Counselor. They've both been here before. They're both volunteers. And let's just go back to the phones here. Let's go to Matthew. Hello, Matthew.
Yes. Thanks for having me on here.
Yes, sir.
I've been on the Affordable Care Act for a few years now, and last year it caught up with me that I had not filed, hadn't filed taxes, paid some, but hadn't filed the actual return for a few years, and so I ended up having this past year having paid the full amount, which wiped out all my savings for being able to cover my deductible, and I pretty well caught up on filing, and everything shows where I don't make enough. Is there any chance that the Affordable Care Act, they will retro when they see my income for the year, that they would go back and maybe give some of that money back?
All right.
For this past year?
No,
because the premiums were $650 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to go back and do anything about last year. I'm sorry you didn't talk to somebody in between. I've had a couple of people who didn't file their tax returns on time, and we filed an appeal and got an extension, and then we finally got the taxes filed, and so he was able to pick up his and one of the things it says, and we ought to say this to everybody, you really got to pay close attention to what's happening with your tax return, what's happening with any messages you're getting from the Affordable Care Act. Sometimes you've got to look online. I had another person this morning who had not filed his taxes, but I think we're going to be able with him. He didn't file them for 2018, okay? Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be able to get that done in time so he can still get the credits for 2020. And it's real important to do that, because this reconciliation has to occur. And if you don't get your tax return filed, you lose the discount. And that's what Matthew is talking about. Matthew, what we ought to do is talk with you and see sort of what your income is now and see about going forward, okay? So if you'll give that 800 number a call that they put back on the screen every once in a while, we ought to talk with you and just see what your income is. Sometimes people are very close to this amount, but the strict answer is no, you're not going to be able to get anything recovered from last year. But we ought to look at what you need to do going forward and see if there are any options for what you might do.
Yeah. Matthew, are you from Middle Tennessee?
I don't think he's still there.
Okay.
Is this you, Matthew? Are you still there, Matthew?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, when you call our 844 number, you might, if you're in Middle Tennessee, I would encourage you to ask for either Jackie or Tony, and we can maybe set up an appointment with one of us. I actually ran into that too when I was doing some enrollment on Saturday, where they had not filed their 2018 taxes,
right.
And as a result of that, until they do, they're not eligible for tax credit for the coming year. And so whether or not you pay them off, it doesn't really matter, but you got to file it. You got to file them.
You don't have to pay the tax all at once,
right,
but you do have to file it.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. And in fact, that's exactly what I advised the person I was talking to. Get your taxes filed, and then as soon as you do that, then you can actually file for coverage for 2020 and get the discounts. And so that's a challenge.
And does that answer your question, Matthew?
Yeah, I believe so. And if you guys can put that number up for a little bit longer.
Okay. All right, let's put up, we'll put up the number there. There it is. So it's 844-644-5353. 5443. We'll leave it up there for a little bit, and that's the number, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So call that number for questions. If you want to call into OpenLine, we'll put our number up in a moment, but there is the number. Write it down, 844-644-5443. And I guess what happened to him again? So this is he didn't file his taxes. Okay.
Okay, if you don't file your taxes, then the following year you are not eligible to get the discount until you've made reconciliation with that year. That's the deal. You have to make the reconciliation.
Right.
And if you do it soon enough, if we catch you soon enough in the open enrollment period, we can work that out so that is not a problem going forward if you talk to us in time. But you got to start at it now.
Right.
So the question is, did you file your taxes in 2018?
Yeah.
Okay, which would have been due April of last year. Or,
Right.
excuse me, April of this year.
Yeah.
April
Right,
of
right.
2019.
I mean,
that's really the question at this point.
People estimate their income, and their income, hardly anyone gets it right. And so their income might be up or down. And like we said earlier, a person can actually change that through the year. So, you know,
But you can also do a range so you don't worry about that
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
That's the key.
So the important thing is to get it filed. And so when a person does an ACA application, they're asked, they're told that question, you know, will you file your taxes? You know, and because
And you're also asked, did you reconcile?
Did you
Did you
reconcile?
do it
Yeah.
last year? Okay, that's really the key.
And I promise we'll put the number up again. Now the number to call us is up, but we'll put the this number up in a moment. Let's go back. I think Dante is calling back. Did you have another question, Dante?
Yes, sir. I just talked to you, and I appreciate you taking my call again.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to make clear something that I evidently didn't. First of all, I live in Davidson County, and the coverage that I was offered covered all my doctors, the cardiologists,
Okay, well, that's good.
and I have to go regularly because 83% of my heart has died, so I'm living on 17%, and I go to the doctor a lot, you know, trying to stay alive.
Right.
And I needed the insurance, and the one company that would take me last year, I just got a letter. I know they've been saying that things are going down, but they doubled my premium and they doubled my deductible. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. And I was wondering, is it because I'm using it so much because I have to go to the doctor? I mean, I don't have any choice, and I have to go to specialists like a cardiologist. So I know it can be very expensive. So is that why they're either not, companies are not taking me because I'm going to cost them so much?
No, that's not it at all.
While they're doubling it.
All right, well, good. Thank you, Don. All right, so why would it go up? He's saying it doubled.
He's looking at a letter that comes in the mail that tells you what the premium is going to be, but it uses last year's deduction, last year's discount, which is a very confusing letter. And that's the reason we say to people, go back to the site, put your income in, and look for it every single year. Don't just depend on this letter and do what they call auto-enroll. The insurance companies would like for you to auto-enroll every year, okay? Don't do that. You can stay with the same company, but we really urge you to go into the site, get your income updated for what we think is going to happen for 2020, find out the new discount, look at other plans if you want to, or stay with the same one, whichever. But there is no way that your use of the insurance would affect your rate. Your age could affect it, and your income can affect it, but not your use of it.
Yeah, the thing
that doesn't happen.
Yeah, the thing that I'm concerned about is I would first thing I'd ask him, you know, what his plan is to make sure he has a plan that's in the ACA, because there are plans that are sold outside the ACA that don't have the discounts. They can deny you coverage and they can double the rates, but the ones in the ACA, they can't do that. So the other thing
so we
too,
need to find out for sure if he's in the ACA. That's
and the
exactly
other thing is, for some reason, maybe if his income decreased and he's in the coverage gap. So those are two things that I would want to find out.
And it sounds like people can get a letter that's confusing, and maybe they misread it, and the letter would be alarming and cause them all sort of upset. But they should just call this.
Yeah, they need to talk to somebody locally.
Yeah,
okay.
and get have their questions answered one-on-one. Let's go to Paul. Hello, Paul.
Yes.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
I have a question about the ACA as far as coverage. This year, we reported an increase in our income sometime in August, and it didn't make any sense to me the increase that was made from $30 per month to about $360. Now we're up to $360. So they made an adjustment based on those 4 months.
Right.
And so the question is, how does the ACA reconcile an estimated amount and then just jump it up? I was told by the ACA, when I spoke to them, they said, well, this is what they have to do, but there seems to be a problem in terms of that. Go ahead.
Okay, I would say that there may have been a problem in estimating the income to begin with. For it to jump from $30 to $300
Right.
is a huge difference. Most people, I mean, unless you won the lottery that year and suddenly had a whole bunch of money, that does not make sense. But something happened, and it may also be that his income dropped and he lost the ability to get the discounts, or he didn't file some paperwork that he needed to. The reason we spend time helping people estimate their income is to avoid those kind of problems. And you don't get that if you just call the ACA big number in Washington.
Right.
Okay? Because we think it takes a lot for people to figure out what should your income range be. And you need to do the income range to know what's going to happen to you. Mm-hmm. And there's a way on the website, but a lot of people who don't regularly use a computer will find that confusing. But you can say, okay, I think my income's going to be, $10,000, or I think it's going to be $15,000, and you put those two in, and you see great big changes.
Yeah.
But he sounds old enough that I don't think it's that issue. I think there's something else going on. So again,
for it to go up that much, that's very rare.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't happen, really.
The one thing we should say, if you report an income change in the year, you can have your deductible start over again, okay? And that could have happened to him. And so one of the things we try to do is say, estimate a little high. People think they should estimate low. Estimate a little high, and you'll be in better shape, okay?
All right.
And it's easier to talk with somebody specifically about what income we're talking about, so they know what's going on.
Right. Tony, what do you think?
Well, I think what Jackie said is correct, and I would say, even though the open enrollment period ends on December 15th, if you got a question, save this number, call us in March, call us in June. I mean, so this number is good year-round, and we can sort of help people at least answer some of those basic questions and do it face-to-face as much as we can.
All right, so we're going to take a break. There is the number that Tony is talking about. So tell us about this number before we take break. This is, 844-644-5443. What is that number? We are a nonprofit organization. That's our number. It goes year-round, and for Tennessee. And so we have sisters in Tennessee who help year-round by calling that number. Yeah,
and they may have to leave a message, but like Jackie said earlier, we're committed to answer, calling back within 24 hours. So
if you leave a message, you'll get a call back within 24 hours. Yeah. And we'll put that number up again in the next segment. So there it is, 844-644-5443. And be ready, we'll put it up again in the next segment. Now, if you want to call in, there's a different number. That's to call us right now. There it is, 615-737-PLUS. If you want to call in, there's the number. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.